Well, hello again, everybody. My name is Jeremy from CaminoWays, and we also have Martha with us from CaminoWays, who will be working hard in the background. So thank you very much for joining our May webinar. And we have many people joining us from many time zones, so it's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Please put yourself on mute, and if you have any questions, type them in, and we'll try and get to them at the end of the presentation. So again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. From Ireland, we're going to talk about Camino routes, and actually, we all know about the last 100 routes into Santiago, like Santiago, are the most popular routes, but there's also some hidden gems out there. So we're going to highlight those as well. So we'll get on with the presentation there, please, Martha. Perfect. Thank you. So quick little bit of brief about CaminoWays. We've been around for about 15. Incredibly moving. We've been here for about 15 years, providing tours on the Camino de Santiago, and we provide walking and cycling tours. And while you do that, we organise your accommodation in hotels. What people really like as far as organising luggage transfers, so we pick up your bag and bring it to the next location, and then we can add on things like airport transfers, and if you're in a group, we can add on guides and offer tailored service as well. And we offer guided and self-guided tours. So self-guided is what most people will do. So we set up everything for you. We provide you all the information on what we call our tour portal before you go. And then you set off, you get yourself to your starting point, and then you set off from there. And obviously we'll support you with our 24-hour assistance number while you're traveling as well. And then we also work with groups as well. And with groups, obviously, it can be anything from 12 people, friends, family, business, schools, universities, charities, religious groups, all sorts of groups coming from everywhere in the world. So we love working with groups as well. All right. Thank you, Martha. So here we have a kind of a map of the Camino as we know it. And we also offer the Via Francigena in Italy. You can see in the bottom left, right there, which is essentially the Camino to Rome. So just briefly highlight that. That's a fantastic route coming through Tuscany and then down into Rome. Works like the Camino, and you do finish in the Vatican. But then in the Camino, we have all the routes that lead to Santiago de Compostela, which is in northwest Spain, up there at the top. And this is why this is where everybody tries to get to gain their certificate to show that they've completed the Camino. And of course, the French way is the most popular, as coming from France. Hence it's called the French way, but you essentially only spend one night in France, walk for a couple of hours, and then you're quickly into Spain, and you spend the rest of the French way walking all across the central part of northern Spain. We have just below that, we have the Portuguese way, what's known as Portugal. So that starts in Lisbon, that works its way up into Porto, and that's really where people walk from in Porto in Portugal. And it's about just under 2 weeks to get to Santiago, crossing the border into Spain. And you can do that in three different ways, but we'll talk a bit about that later. And then we have the northern way at the top, which is, again, very, very popular, coming through Bilbao, Santander, San Sebastian, and coming down into Santiago. We have other routes like the English way coming from the north coast down, finishing the Camino from Santiago. You can walk to the Finisterre way to Finisterre and Muxia. And then we have the Primitivo as well, and some others that are lesser known, but still very doable and very beautiful to do. Okay, thank you, Martha. So the three most popular routes of the Camino. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the three most popular, and then we'll have a look at some hidden gems. So definitely the most popular Camino is the French way. And the French way, as I said, goes from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, crossing the Pyrenees down into Roncesvalles, and then continue on through Pamplona and some fantastic cities like Logroño, Burgos, Leon, and continue on to what would be the most popular part, a town called Sarria, which is just over 100 kilometers from Santiago. And then a lot of people will come and just walk that 100 kilometers. Because you just need 100 kilometers on your passport to show that you've completed the Camino. and then you get to finish in Santiago de Compostela as well and get to see the cathedral. So that's definitely the most popular, and many people do that. But there's plenty of options as well. We'll come to those later. There's also as I said, there's the Camino del Norte, and with this is definitely very popular for people who might have completed the Camino into Santiago and looking for something different, a little bit more challenging. So walking along the north coast of Spain, kind of on the bottom of the Bay of Biscay, so really stunning coastal route with fantastic cities, as I mentioned, Bilbao, Santander, San Sebastian. All those cities are iconic in Spain, have lots to offer, like the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. Both San Sebastian and Santander are very well known for its culinary, restaurants, food. Pinchos was the same as tapas. And you can have a wonderful time walking between those cities through the lovely villages and towns and experiencing incredible countryside that is in northern Spain. We've given the Portuguese way a little bit more room to talk about. It's on next slide, please, because there's actually three different ways you can do the Portuguese route, and so we won't try not to confuse anybody with this. But from Porto, you can walk pretty much either what we call the coastal way or the central way. Now, obviously, the coastal way moves up through the coast along Portugal, all the way along to Bayona, just crossing the border into Spain, and then cutting inland after a couple of days, coming into Santiago de Compostela. Very popular route, really growing in popularity. Obviously, you've got the attraction of walking by the sea a lot of the days, having that kind of seaside variant. Plus, the towns along this route are a little bit more touristic, so you get a kind of a better experience in the towns on this route because of that. On this route, you can split from this route as well to what we call the variant, the spiritual, and that is you spend a little bit more time on the coast, and it also includes the boat ride to Padron. And this is quite significant because it is legend would have it that this is where St. James arrived into Spain, and also where they brought his body back into Spain from Jerusalem, and they carried his body to that location beside the cathedral, where the cathedral is now situated in Santiago de Compostela. So I think the spiritual variant off the coastway is a fantastic route to do, and there is that added element of kind of following the through path of St. James. The the other one, which was a little bit older, has a little bit more tradition. It's a central way. So again, that coming from Porto, moving up through kind of a central area of Portugal, coming across the border into Tui, and then finishing a couple of days into Santiago de Compostela. And with this, you're going to get a variety of agriculture, kind of a few vineyards, really stunning scenery, good rural traditions, and stunning villages as well along this route. So it's equally good. And it's a great option to have if you've again done some of the other routes and you're looking for something a little bit different as well. And I think one of the most great things about all of these routes is that you get to experience and walk in two different countries as well if you're doing the 2 weeks. And so you get to walk from Portugal and into Spain. With us, you can tailor where you start and finish, so you can start wherever you want and finish wherever you want. You can do that on our tailored platform on CaminoWays.com. So that's a fantastic option, and gives you all the options of what you want to do, where you want to go, and when you want to go. Thank you, Martha. And so a few of the little kind of what we call the hidden gems, which people may or may not know, but I think it's great to highlight these because a lot of people talk about the Camino being very busy. And while that can be true in some locations, it mainly comes from the fact that most people in the Camino stay in hostels, and it's always a bit of a race to get to the next town to get your bed in a hostel. And that's why people say, "I was busy, and I can't get a bed. I need to get up very early to go and walking." But with us, if you book through us, obviously you've got all your accommodation arranged, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can get up at a reasonable time, maybe, and set off in your Camino maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And I think that you have that security, and we do that in all the routes that we're featuring tonight as well. So the first one we look at is what's known as the Camino Inglés, or the English way. And that comes from 2 points just north of Santiago, from A Coruña, which is becoming a very popular town for people to come and visit for holidays on the beach. It's a lovely city by the beach, or from Ferrol as well, which is on the coast. And why this is known as the English way, because it is on the tip of northern Spain there. So from England and Ireland, back in the day, they used to sail across the Bay of Biscay, land in Ferrol or Coruña, and walk the rest of the way down into Santiago. So it's a kind of a short, quick route, the route from A Coruña is just a bit shorter than around 90 kilometers, and from Ferrol it's just over 100 kilometers. Boat routes will get you the certificate as well. But it's they're really lovely routes, very rural. You get to start on the coast, then walk through this stunning rural countryside. Again, a little bit tougher days, a bit longer kilometers, kind of averaging maybe 22 kilometers per day. But that does vary. But yeah, great route again. If you've done the other routes, you're looking for something a bit different, maybe something a little bit more challenging, full of tradition, full of fun, and great hotels along the way as well. Now we're going to jump right to the south of Portugal, and we're going to disconnect ourselves a little bit from the Camino and what's known as the route of Vincentina. So this is the route that is south of Lisbon, and that goes along the coast of Portugal right down to the south of Cape St. Vincent, which is the most northerly point of the mainland in Europe. I'm in Ireland, so I would say that the most westerly point. We're definitely the most westerly point of Europe, but Cape St. Vincent is known as the most westerly point of the mainland of Europe. And from here is very famous surfing. If you ever Google Cape St. Vincent, you'll see massive waves coming across the Atlantic, and they really get big as they come into this area. And there's some huge surf there, and it's one of the most popular surfing points in the world. But we're not here to surf, we're here to walk or cycle. And you can walk this route from south of Lisbon all the way down to Ruta Vincentina. It's a really stunning coastal walk through a lot of national parks, very rustic, very traditional, and it's fully coastal, so it's a really good experience. Nothing like taking your backpack off and going for a swim while you're walking or after you walk, but do remember to totally dry yourself before you set off again. It is. I've done this route. It does connect to the Camino because it's just south of Lisbon, so you can pop up from here and join the Camino from there. But yeah, it's a stunning walk. The other advantage to this walk is that you can, when you're finished down in Sagres in the south, you can just pop over to the Algarve, which is obviously a very popular seaside area of Portugal. Then we have the Via Francigena, which I mentioned earlier. So the Via Francigena is possibly, we know about the Via Francigena because in the ninth century, the Archbishop of Canterbury, had to walk to Rome to get his credentials signed by the Pope and then go back again. And he did something unique that he talked about where he walked, the route he walked, who he stayed with, where he stayed, and it's reputedly one of the first guidebooks ever recorded. And from that, we do have the route. And he walked from Canterbury in the UK all the way across France, over the Alps, down into Italy, down into northern Italy, and Tuscany, and down to Italy. Now, obviously, this over 3,000 kilometers. So it's little walked to that point in Tuscany where we start, and we start at the gateway to Tuscany, in a big town called Lucca. So you can fly into Pisa or you can fly into Florence and make your way across to Lucca and walk 3 weeks down into Italy. Again, you can break that into weekly sections. So you can walk a week in Tuscany from Lucca to the iconic town of Siena, which is, I think in everybody's mind to go and visit at some point in their life, and to walk along Tuscany is truly amazing. Again, fantastic scenery, very traditional, extremely good food, and great walking as well. The only thing I will say about the Via Francigena in Tuscany is that they had a bad habit of building their towns on tops of hills for defense. So at the end of every day, there is a bit of a hill to walk up to get into the town, but these towns are well worth it, believe me. From Siena, you kind of start the trail into Rome itself. And so you're still walking through stunning countryside in towns like Acquapendente, down to Vertibo, and then coming back down into the countryside into actually Rome. And Rome is a huge city, and obviously you walk to the Vatican, which I think is extremely special to finish your hike at the Vatican. You don't feel like you're one of the many tourists that are there. You feel like you deserve to be there. You're dusty, you're tired, you've got your backpack, and it's a great experience, which I've done myself. And then you have Rome, well worth an extra night or two. The ancient city of Rome, obviously the Vatican. You've got the Colosseum. You've got so much to see and do in Rome. It's somewhere you can spend quite a bit of time. exploring for. And again, incredible food, atmosphere, and fun to be had. Um, so that's the Via Francigena. Thank you, Martha. So yeah, so it's yeah, we get a lot of questions about what Camino suits me, and essentially, as I said, with our website CaminoWays.com, you can go in there and you can create your account. Then you have your own account, and then you can pick and choose where you want to start and finish. Generally, people will have a week off, and that works quite well with most of the routes, because if you take a week, so it's 5, 6, or 7 days walking, you'll find a large point to start in, which is good access from airports and transfers and trains, and finish in a large town or city as well. Obviously, Santiago de Compostela, which has its own airport, or many of the other cities along the routes. But the last 100 kilometers into Santiago de Compostela on the French way, on the Portuguese way, on the English way, and pretty much in all the ways that enter in there are the most well resourced, because they are the most well walked. So it's simple to get there. There's great variety of hotels and hostels and everything else. There's good lively atmosphere from other people walking the Camino. So definitely, if you have a week and your first time on the Camino, this is something you should consider. For people who've done the Camino before, looking for something else, you can look at the outline routes. We've discussed a few of them there. That's the route of Vincigena in the south of Portugal. You've got the Via Francigena in Italy, the northern way, Bilbao, Santander. So they're all great routes to consider. Of course, there's the length of time you have to walk, and we have a lot of people who book the full routes. You can do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, anything you want. So the Via Francigena takes probably about 4 to 5 weeks to walk from Saint Jean Pied de Port. The northern way is a little bit longer. You're probably looking at 7 to 8 weeks to walk that, but you can still do that and book that with us. And again, you can design your tours. Always worth noting, when you come to a major town or city, which is usually after 5 to 7 days, to take maybe an extra day as a bit of a break. A lot of people say, how hard is the Camino? And I would, we've always kind of said that, the Camino is very similar throughout. You're never going up and over mountains, with the exception of day one on the French way when you're going over the Pyrenees. But that is a pass, so it's a well walked route. But there is a hefty climb up and a hefty descent down. Other than that, you're always kind of on undulating countryside, so you're always moving up and down. It's never flat. People ask me, "Oh, can I do a Camino that's flat?" Doesn't exist. It's like walking out your back door and you walk into your town. I'm sure you have to walk across a few hills unless you're on a flat pan desert. So yes, it's always undulating, and I would say 90% of the Camino would be easy to moderate. The Portuguese coastal way is very well marked, paved, and it's a very accessible route. So I think if you want something that I would class easy, moderate to easy, definitely the Portuguese coastal way. And after that, I would suggest everything is moderate. The harder routes really will be the Camino del Norte, and that's mainly due to distances and some ascents and descents. The Primitivo, which is the primitive Camino, that's coming kind of between the northern way and the French way down into Santiago, and Via de la Plata, which comes all the way from Seville up through northern Spain. Very little resource. We only do the last 100 kilometers of that from Orense, which is stunning, because Orense is a spa town and it comes up through some really, really lovely river gorges and into Santiago. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit harder, but very, very doable. Um, we talked a little about how busy the Camino is, and definitely on all the last 100-kilometer routes, the trail is a little bit busier. Now, you're never pushing through crowds or crowds pushing through you. That doesn't exist on the Camino. And I think, if you're looking for something that's kind of social and a little bit more lively in the towns in the evening, any of the last 100 kilometers, you're going to get that, especially on Sarria de Santiago and the Camino French way. Great atmosphere. Everyone's saying Buen Camino. It's very difficult not to meet people and make friends. It's great to stop for lunches. The many restaurants and cafes en route, where you're definitely going to meet people and have a bit of fun. The Portuguese coast away and the English way would be not as busy, but still plenty of atmosphere on them. I would say the Portuguese coast away more than the English way. And then when you come to things like the Primitivo or the Via de la Plata, like there could be days where you don't see anybody, which if that's what you're looking for, that's definitely the ones for you. Um, we know from the office where you get the credential that you have an option of taking your certificate for religious reasons, or you're just doing it for yourself or for other reasons. So not everybody walks it for religious reasons, but there's definitely always a spirituality involved with people walking the Camino. But the religious reasons, I suppose people walk for religious reasons are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I think that's obvious in the world we're living in at the moment. But it takes up people from all cultures, from all countries, from all religions, and you will find that on the Camino, and it's even spreading further now. And I think that's one of the fantastic things about the Camino, that the locals really welcome you as well. They look after you. They're going to look after you. If you're lost, they will guide you back to where you need to be. Um, I think it's very difficult to kind of describe, to pick one that has better scenery or better nature or better culture or better this, because they all offer the same in different parts and different sections and different days. And I think you're going to experience that on all Caminos. But definitely worth noting for scenery is the Camino del Norte, from Bilbao to Santander. And San Sebastian, the Inverno, but the route of Insochina as well is so rugged, and that you're definitely going to be isolated on that, but well marked and easy to walk because you have the coast. But for scenery, definitely. And for people doing their first Camino, I would suggest, yes, what the more popular ones we talked about, which is kind of the Portuguese way going into Santiago, lasts 100 kilometers, or the French way from Sarria is great as well. So I've thrown a lot of information at you there. So sorry about that, but I know Martha is recording this, so it's going to be accessible to review again, and hopefully in a day or two. How to prepare for your walk physically. So again, this is very important when people decide to walk the Camino, and it could be months in advance of when they do book, and we get a lot of bookings well in advance. I think it's important to note, just before we go into it, that next year is what's known as a holy year. So it's when they open the gates of heaven, or the door of heaven, into the cathedral, and it does generate a huge, a lot more people walking the Camino to finish in Santiago. So if you're thinking about going next year, a great time to do it, because there's a lot of celebrations, a lot of festivals, and a really good time to walk, but book early. Um, to prepare for your walk is just start as soon as you decided you're going to walk the Camino, whether it's 6 months, 8 months, a year, even 3 months or 2 months. Try and get out and get walking. Essentially, carry your backpack. Start where you're comfortable. If you're comfortable at 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, do that. But then work above that. So every time you go out, increase that distance. And I think that's vitally important. So let's say you start on 3 kilometers. The next time you go out, do 4. The next time you go out, you do 5. So you just build on your distances day by day. Carry a bit of extra weight in your backpack, so when you're walking, you don't feel it as much. When If you're with us, obviously we transfer your luggage, but even a 10-15 liter backpack with your few personal items in it can you can feel it when you're walking. If you're carrying your own gear, be very I suppose be very brutal about what you're bringing with you, because you definitely don't want a lot of stuff on your back when you're doing that. Um, Practice in your own gear that you're going to walk the Camino in. So go to your local hiking store, ask them advice for what kind of shoes, walking posts, things that you need for walking the Camino specifically. They will understand your question and they'll give you the right gear. And then definitely just, as I said, build on that every day. I think that's the most important thing, and try and get some consecutive days walking in, because on the Camino, obviously, you're going to be walking, going to sleep, getting up, walking again, repeat, repeat, repeat. And walking on consecutive days is also a challenge. Yeah, so you can talk forever about that, but we don't have that much time. And yeah, so we have a fitness plan on our website. So if you go into CaminoWays.com and just put in 6 month fitness plan, there's all the kind of information, tips. There's even an ebook you can download about it, and it's something that you can follow. It's quite simple, as I said. Just build on your distances every time you go out. And you'll find that the Camino is still challenging, no matter how much work you've done beforehand. But it's better, it's easier for you to kind of get through it, to recover and to start again. And that's where your fitness comes in. No matter how fit you are, it'll still be challenging. On a day to day, really the logistics of the Camino day to day, again, it's repeat, 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 but it's never the same the day. So on average, your kind of walking distance is about 20 kilometers a day. We deal in kilometers. I know we have a lot of US friends out there. who keep asking miles. So about 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers is about 12, 13 miles. So that just to give you an idea of that. With us, obviously, we will transport your luggage. So generally in the morning, you get up, I don't know, whatever time you want to get up because your next accommodation is organized. But I would advise leaving by 9 o'clock, no later than 9 o'clock. So get up with enough time to get your breakfast, get yourself sorted, look after your luggage, and then get out on the road. With our hotels, you walk to and from. So you walk to the hotel each evening, and you walk from your hotel each morning. There are some exceptions to that, and we'll let you know if that is the case. Um, and for your luggage that's been transferred, we ask that you drop it down to the lobby no later than 8 o'clock. You don't need to check out at that time. Just drop your main bag down, and our team, who will have put our tags on it, will come and pick it up, and it'll be ready for you when you get to the next hotel. You just have to carry it to your room. The trail, as I said, on in the majority of cases on the Camino, is very well marked, it's very well trodden, so it's very distinct. There's lots of yellow markers on arrows on the Camino, and you follow those arrows; they are correct. And there's also trail markers. You've got the scallop shell, which is famous marker. The scallop shell has lots of little ridges across it, and then at the end, it's kind of displaying the I suppose it's an image of what Santiago is with all the routes coming to it. So the scallop shell is always follow the end of the shell. That's the direction you go. And on most of the routes, there's lots of little villages, towns, and little farmyards where people have made restaurants and cafes. So fantastic to stop and have your lunch or rest or coffee along the way. I always say that, for every hour you walk, take 10, 15-minute break, and then take a good long lunch, good hour break for lunch. And that, anywhere from 12 to 2 o'clock, you can take your lunch. You're going to get to the other side. Some days are going to be longer and some days are going to be shorter. And you're going to have your hotel at the end that we've booked for you so you can relax and explore the town. And then next slide. So insider tips, yeah, definitely. There's a few of those, but I think a lot of people know it. I know a lot of people do a lot of research before they plan their Camino. So yeah, the popular times to walk the Camino are spring and autumn. So around now, May is the second busiest month of the year for people walking. September is the busiest, but really any time from April, May, June, July even. Be careful with August, but if you're coming from Arizona or Florida, I'm sure you're well used to the heat, so you shouldn't have a problem. Remember, the Caminos are mostly in northern Spain, so it's not like southern Spain, so it is a little bit cooler up there. Um, the hardest day is day one. Not sure about that. So, Martha, we might have a discussion about that sentence. I think anyone can go out and walk 20 kilometers in any day. I think the hardest day is day three when your body suddenly realizes that you're doing this consecutively and is going, "What are you doing to me?" And you'll also be a little bit stiff and sore. And it's really kind of in the afternoon of the second day, in the morning of the third day, I think is when most people really kind of feel it because their body is starting to react. But very quickly, your body will start to fitten up to what you're doing and get into the rhythm, and then it's very hard to get out of the rhythm. So I always say it's a little bit of an anticlimax when you finish the Camino because you finish that journey, and I think that's where people get that spiritual experience from. And this can be a little bit of an anticlimax when you finish, but that very quickly changes to elation. So it's one of the incredible things about doing any journey of this type. Your socks are the most important thing for sure. I always say to people, go merino wool because merino wool, it wicks away the moisture from your skin, which that causes blisters. They also will cool your feet down in heat because, or keep them hot and if it's cold. So it has just amazing technical ability to work. And we have the Australian or the New Zealand sheep to thank for that because they have to deal with all sorts of weather down there, and therefore they developed this lovely wool to do that. And when we wear it, we get the same effect. Um, Sundays are a different plan ahead, so things like not everywhere is going to be open. It's not strictly true in the Camino, specifically on the busiest parts, because obviously there's a lot of people going by and they're going to need resources. So the wily people of Galicia and northern Spain have said, right, if I stay open, I'm going to have some customers. And but yes, in the towns that you're staying in, there's not going to be as many things open in the evening. So maybe a bit of planning ahead is good for that. I think I mentioned earlier that if you're doing a prolonged journey, it's great to stop in the bigger towns and cities. If you're like on the French way, for example, Lyon, Burgos, fantastic towns to take an extra night, Pamplona, and explore the city, and then kick on again, and you're off you go. Um, and eat where the locals eat, not where Google sends you. Yes, very true. Although it's hard not to Google where to go. I think we're all at fault of that. But I always say, if you're dining in the town and you have not booked your dinner with us, ask at the hotel reception. They're local. They know where to go. They know where the best food is, and it's never far away from the hotel. So ask the hotel for things like that, because they're the best place to give you the answers. Um, so yes, so we've kind of come to the end of our Camino, and we're doing a new little thing on our presentations these days where we offer people a discount on our guided tours. So our guided tours are on specific dates and specific routes. And for this trip and for you, and we'll send you out this information afterwards, we'll have a special discount on our Camino Finisterre guided tour, which is going on September the 12th. And the discount code is guided Finisterre, and it's a 12% discount that will be added to, taken off the cost. And then, so you need to book that before the end of May. And yeah, so it's a fantastic tour. The Camino Finisterre goes out to, starts in Santiago de Compostela. So it starts where most people finish, but Finisterre, meaning Land's End, is where a lot of people will continue the Camino. It's about just under 90 kilometers, but then we continue to Muxia, which is a stunning town, fishing village in the area. But yeah, Finisterre is where it's a very important point, is where a lot of people came since kind of Stone Age times to celebrate births, deaths, marriages, and everything else. And again, is reputedly where St. James did a lot of his preaching from. As there's a lighthouse there and a stunning beach, so and the walk to there is really stunning as well. Partly coastal, very very rural, very traditional, and I'd highly recommend that. So again, if you need further information, just email us at info@CaminoWays.com, and the team will have a chat with you about all of that. Okay, thanks, Martha.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we are finished with the presentation. So if anyone has a questions, feel free to put them on the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask, we have a few minutes. There is a couple of them already, Jeremy. So is it too late for me to join the Camino for this year, or when I should start planning for next year?
Absolutely not. I mean, we have people still booking for June, July, August. Obviously, September is still a little bit far out. September, even up to October, people are walking the Camino. It's a great time to walk. So yeah, I think no problem. So get onto our website, create a quote, or send us an email with what you're looking for, and we'll send you an itinerary. And no problem to book for this year still. And then next year, yeah, obviously you have loads of time, but not a bad time to start planning.
Thank you. And in terms of the Camino Sarria to Santiago, what's your opinion on difficulty?
I would say moderate. Your average day is 20 kilometers a day, is about 12, 13 miles. It is undulating, so you will be moving up and down all the time. I know the first day, it's a gradual uphill most of the way, and then you come down massively downhill into your first town, and your people are always a little bit, oh my god, but it's very very doable. Take your time, take a break every 15, sorry, take a 15-minute break every hour you walk. Don't rush it. Walk within your own pace. You'll always get there.
Thank you. Any recommendations for routes for 6 to 8 days that they don't end in Santiago?
From Porto up to Bayona, or on the coastway, is amazing. Yes, so you've got good access into Porto. You can walk 7 days up to Bayona, which is just across the border into Spain, so you get that dual country experience. You can transfer back to Porto for an airport out. So definitely Porto to Bayona. The northern way, Bilbao to Santander, or San Sebastian to Bilbao. Again, both are a week's walk. They're fantastic there on the northern way. And also, if you're looking for something a bit of a challenge, the first section of the Camino Francés from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, and walking to Pamplona or onto Logroño, because Pamplona is only 4 days walk, and Logroño is kind of the capital for Rioja in Spain. So if you like your wine, that's a great place to go. You get Pamplona, which is an iconic ancient city, and also you start in France, fly to Biarritz, and transfer down to Saint Jean, and then you can fly out of Bilbao in the north. So you also can get Bilbao into that journey. So I think that's a really classic trip. Yeah.
Thank you. For vegetarian and vegan food, is there any available on the Camino?
Absolutely, it is a little bit basic. If you're really into if you're vegan and vegetarian, I always suggest you don't book dinner with us. That is an option. You can remove all dinners. There's a very good app called the Happy Cow, and with that, it'll tell you all the locations of all the vegan and vegetarian restaurants, not just in the area you're in, but also in the world. So it's a great option. But definitely, I think with the Pilgrim menu, it is meat and two veg or fish and two veg. Vegetarian options are not great. Absolutely. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just the way it is. It's a very traditional area. So go, remove dinners from your booking with us and go with the Happy Cow app.
Thank you. How long are guided tours for the Camino Portuguese coastal? Is there any during August? And how many people do you normally have in each group?
Yeah, we're fully booked out for this year. We will be launching our guided tours for the coastal way. We will be launching them for next year in around July time. So sorry for that. They're always a week long. So they generally start on a Sunday and finish on a Sunday. So you overnight Sunday, start walking on the Monday, and then you finish walking on the Saturday to check out on the Sunday. Usually we have about 16 people on each tour with obviously a local guide who also speaks English. And the majority of people on the trip, I would say 99% of people on the trip are all English speaking from Ireland, England, US, Canada, and maybe some other places, but that's generally it.
Thank you. Best recommendation for having around 10 days and want the best landscapes.
Again, as I think I mentioned, the northern way is really good, but you Porto up to Santiago as well on the central way is fantastic. You can get that done just over 10 days, I think. And or walking from Pontevedra on the French way to Sarri and then on to Santiago is also extremely good. So yeah, there's lots of options there. On our website. You can literally It's quite good. You could pick your end point and then go back 10 days and pick where you're starting. When you create an itinerary with us, you can go back in and edit it as well. So if you're not quite happy with where you start or where you finish, you can just go in and edit it. It's very simple to do. Or send your request to us and we'll do it for you.
Thank you. How plentiful are the options for superior accommodations on the Rota Vicentina?
None. There's no superior options on the route of Vicentina. It's all of quite basic. Good hotels, good standard hotels. Unfortunately, there isn't any superior hotels on that route. So it is quite traditional. There's not a lot of people walking it. So quite rustic, very traditional, great food. But it's I love that route because of that. But please, yeah, no, obviously no superior.
Thank you. On the guided Camino Tour Portuguese coastal, are you able to get the Compostela? Um, yeah, are you able to get the Compostela for the last 100 kilometers?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, with the Camino now, you just need to walk 100 kilometers anywhere, get yourself to Santiago, and they'll give you the certificate for that. So it's changed from having to walk 100 kilometers into Santiago to having to walking 100 kilometers anywhere. Just make sure you get your passport stamped. And there's even a few exceptions to that. For instance, on the Portuguese coastal, you can walk from Vigo to Santiago, which is just under 100 kilometers, but you will still get your certificate for that. And obviously, the English way from Coruña is not 100 kilometers. You will still get your passport if you do that.
Individual room are individual room available if traveling alone in a guided tour.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, just request a single room. So, as we said, we offer accommodation in hotels, all private ensuite rooms. So, you have an option of a shared room where you obviously share. You don't share with people you don't know. If you're traveling with somebody you know, obviously you share with them. But if you're traveling on your own, single room, no problem.
Perfect. That's all, Jeremy. So thank you so much, everyone.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Martha, and thank you all for joining us. It's a real pleasure to kind of to have you with us and to listen to us talk about the Camino. It's all great. We'll be doing our webinar again next week. We'll be launching that and sending the subject matter for that. And well, I hope to see you on the Camino soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.